feel like setting up a StreamYard because I just wanted to come up here real quick and talk, run off at the mouth for a little bit. Um, Hi, little. Hi. He's so cute. Little stray kitty cat that I nicknamed Cutie Pie because she's so cute. And she's little, she's tiny, and she has been living in my mom's backyard for probably 6 or 7 years. I don't even know. But she has never grown. She's had like multiple litters, but she's never grown. Anyway, let me sit on the ledge and talk to y'all. Okay, so when I have anxiety about something, I feel better when I talk about it. I feel better when I can like get it out. And so this is why I'm here, you guys. Actually, I want to go back over here closer to the light. So the other day when I went live, I talked about how I met a guy and he asked me for my number and I gave it to him, not because I really wanted to, but just because he asked for it. And I always clam up in those situations because I'm always like erring on the side of caution. Like if I say no, then this might turn into like contentious conversation, and I was walking towards my car, and I just never want to take a chance when it comes to stuff like that. You never know if people are watching you or going to follow you or anything like that. Not that I live in fear, but it's just something that I'm always thinking about when a guy asks me for my phone number. And so yeah, whoops. I didn't do so good at declining to give him my phone number. And then I did the next worst thing, which is when he called me, I did not answer. Like I kept ignoring the call. He called me like 3 times. Anyway, I'm saying that to say, just to give you guys a little background info. I then a couple days later met another guy who was, in my opinion, more handsome, and that I wanted to give my phone number to. And so we talked on the phone, had a pretty good conversation. And I'm big on talking on the phone, like to kind of get to know each other first before we like hang out or go out or get taken out or anything like that. So I was glad that we had the phone conversation, but um, once we hung up the phone and like set each other's expectations to talk again soon, it seemed like that wasn't enough for him, because like he called me a couple hours later and I didn't answer the phone because I was busy. But then also, no, I cannot do a backflip. I am unable to do a backflip. Um, I'm talking to you in my mom's backyard right now, which is probably the best place to try to do a backflip, but I'm unable to do one. Thanks for asking. Um, I thought it was weird that he called me like a few hours later. And so I didn't feel bad about not answering the call. But then it was like, dang, we had such a good conversation. Like, why you putting so much on it? You know, like, it just was one of those things where it was like, hey, Link, I'm okay. And hey, 18th, and hey, the cynical one. I'm not ignoring y'all. I just want to kind of get this out and then get out of the way. But yeah, so like, I thought that was weird. Then he sent me a text message. Then he double texted me. Then he triple texted me. And I'm like, yo, am I gonna really have to like tell this guy I'm not interested now? Like, am I gonna have to like walk all of that back that we talked about? Because we had already started making plans for our first date um, on the phone earlier, and so yeah, that was kind of a thing where I was just kind of like, ooh, I don't know about that. Um, Hang on a second. Don't lock me out. You locked me out earlier. Um, so yeah, that was a thing, and so it made me kind of second guess the conversation we had earlier, and be like, okay, you putting a little bit too much on it. So I actually replied to one of his text messages, and I was just like, let's just kind of see where this goes. I don't want to put too much on it. And he immediately wrote back apologetic, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I hope that doesn't mean you don't want to still kick it. And I'm like, I didn't say any of that. And like, and then I started thinking, like, is this what we sound like when we be really into guys? Like, is this what women sound like to y'all? Like, when we be like, really, we can't wait till the next time we see each other. And like, I mean, because I can identify with those feelings of like really liking somebody and wanting to talk to them and wanting to get to know them and wanting to like peel back all the layers and do all the things. I get that. But we just had our first phone conversation. We just met a few days ago. And so when he wrote back and was like all apologetic or whatever, he then called me again. And I just was looking at my phone like, I don't want to answer this. Like, it was just giving me anxiety. It was making me feel like, this was a mistake. So then I called him and I was like, hey. And he was like, hey, I hope I didn't interrupt you. I know you said you were meal prepping and mentally preparing for the next. And I'm like, so I told him, I was like, listen, if I tell you I'm going to call you back, I'm going to call you back. But you have to give me the opportunity to call you back. Like, you can't call me back after I said I was going to call you back. Because that makes me not want to call you back. It makes me not want to answer the phone. And I said, it feels awkward. Then he starts apologizing. And I'm like, why are you apologizing? You do not need to apologize. I just want you to know that this is a concern because we just had our first phone conversation. We just started to make plans for our first date. And you're bombarding me with text messages and phone calls. Prior to a few days ago, you didn't know who I was. So this seems a little excessive. And I feel like I wasn't wrong for saying that, but it was also just like, I think nowadays we all have to be a little bit more careful with how we interact with one another and like how we exchange. Because I think you have to be, you have to kind of think about how it's being received. No matter how you intend for it to be received, you have to actually be like, all right, I know I'm direct. I know I speak English. I know I said what I had to say in very few words. But as somebody who is often misunderstood, I always think about like, okay, what are some other ways that somebody could have come away from this with? What are some other ways, yeah, the cynical one. I think so. Even just his willingness to just launch into an apology when I raised a concern, like, and I had already said you don't need to apologize, and he kept doing it anyway, and I was just like, you really don't need to apologize. Please stop apologizing. Just take note of what I'm saying as a concern, and that I have already expressed to you that I would like to just see where things go, especially since we just met. There's no sense of urgency here. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like second guessing whether we should go on this date. I'm kind of like, maybe we'll give it a week and see how the communication goes over the next 7 days, and then I'll decide if I really want to go on a date or not. Because don't get me wrong, I would love to be in a relationship and, working towards building a life with somebody and all that good stuff, right? But I think I would be remiss if I just did it because there's an option. You know what I'm saying? Um, Link said maybe not. Yeah, okay, so I'm not tripping. He said that's a bit much. Then that means I'm not tripping. Hey, Mr. Donnie Mac. That means I'm not tripping then. Thank you. Because that's why I was like, let me just do a live stream real quick, a vertical real quick, just to talk about how awkward I felt in that moment and how, it's a school night. I'm getting prepared for the week ahead for work and stuff. And I'm like, I don't really want to go into this week having anxiety as I'm driving into work, thinking about if you're going to call me and if I got to look at the phone and pretend I don't know that you're calling me so I can ignore it and then have a barrage of text messages that and a little bit more about it was like, he kept saying that I was gorgeous, and I'm like, I love a well-placed compliment. Don't get me wrong. I love a well-placed compliment and I appreciate it. However, like, again, we just met. You have not even seen me in all of my splendor. Save it for when I really like put it on for you and like we go out and we see what the vibes are. I don't know. I digress. Hey, Dr. Dunbar. Hey, Third Ward. Thank you. Yes, my locks are just they're just growing. They're just flourishing. I do have what I'm calling a boneless lock. This is a boneless lock. This is my boneless lock. Because look, like right here, I have a hair that just doesn't want to connect with a lock. And then I have I have another boneless lock back here. I have one on this side. Where is it? Oh, that's not it. Here it is. There's another boneless lock. So like I have boneless locks. That's what I call them. They're boneless because like this one, you can see clearly has a bone, right? Like these ones in the front, they're nice and juicy and chunky. But then I got a few of them where it's like, how did you get a boneless lock, sis? Anyway, Dr. Dunbar said it's a jungle out there, Toya. Yeah, and like I know that I don't necessarily always feel compelled to talk about that because I feel like I have more of a better experience than a bad experience. But again, like when you're putting 20 on 10, I f- I'm like I'm like not hyperventilating, but I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. My first instinct is to cut off all communication and run. Like that's my first instinct, you know? But I'm also just trying to be open, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm no spring chicken, y'all know this. I don't hide this. But at the same time, I'm just like, can we be some if we're not on the same page, can we at least be in the same chapter? Can we be in the vicinity of the same section of the book? Anyway, yeah, it's one thing to express interest, but it's another to be super needy, especially as a man. I think as a woman, I can be very needy. I'll be the first one to admit that. I need all the hugs. I need all the words of affirmation. I need closeness. I need reassurance. Those are things that I need. I'm needy in that way as a woman. But I think as a man, even if you need those things, there's a way to go about getting them, especially when you're just meeting somebody. I think it's probably better to keep that close to the chest versus leading with it. I don't know. Dave Tao, I think you can have locks in corporate America now. 2024 means I think you can. Thank you for the compliment, Third Ward. These are my mom's earrings. I kind of stole them from her because she wasn't wearing them, and I was like, these would go great with my locks. So yeah. He said, you're a very wise lioness, Toya. You'll know what to do. I was talking about the dude you're talking about. Yeah. No, I totally, he might be, but, and that's another thing, like, he's younger too. So, like, he's still in his 30s. And I was thinking, like, is this an age gap thing? Because we don't have such a huge age gap, but I feel like maybe if he was 40, maybe he wouldn't have this approach. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to make sense of it, but I just left it at like, hey, we'll talk again soon. When that is, I don't know, because I'm not making you no promises, but at the same time, I'm like, please don't call me again until I call you. Please don't. And if the other guy from the other day calls me again, I'm going to answer the phone just so I can be like, I'm not interested, sir. I'm sorry I gave you my phone number. I didn't mean to. That sounds so childish, but it's really what happened. Hey, Mr. Z. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I know what this all comes with. if you if you want me to feel good and secure in our relationship, I'm gonna need all the hugs daily. Like I'm gonna need to not have to ask you I need to be able to walk up to you and just get it. I need to just lean in and you need to just let me in and give me this hug. um and I need reassurance and words of affirmation. Like those are things that really, yeah, I'm needy in that way. Other than that, leave me alone. I'm good. I got stuff to do. But if once I get all those things, I'm good. I can go power on for a few hours, get whatever I need to get done. Dr. Dunbar said, each man brings a different level of experience to these things, regardless of age. Yeah, I can, and that's why I'm making the point, like him being a little younger than me, perhaps he doesn't have the level of experience that I would expect him to, so maybe that's why he is coming across so needy and just, I don't even know if I would have said needy. I'm using the cynical one's word. I just would have said that um he comes across unhinged. Like, because I think when you first meet somebody and you have a phone conversation, you want to make a good impression. um but I think that you also, again, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I always feel like I still keep some of my cards close to the chest because I don't want you to see my hand. I don't want you to see, I don't know if I want you to see all that yet. And when I get to the point where I do, then you will. I don't think that, I don't think that that's too crazy. Take a load off. Hopefully I don't get a splinter in my booty because this little ledge is wooden. But I'm wearing pants. I don't mean to say it like I'm not wearing pants, but yeah. So I just was like, she said I was trying to be nice tonight. I was just like, let me come on YouTube and talk about this real quick because I need to get it out. And we follow each other on Twitter, so it's not like I could have just tweeted about it, which is something I would normally do, just tweet about it and keep it moving. But now I'm thinking like, oh man, like if I tweet about it, he gonna see it and he might call me and be like, was that tweet about me? Cause subtweets be saving my life sometimes. Being able to just get on Twitter and get a subtweet off and nobody knows where it's coming from, it helps. Oh, but I have good news. I wanted to tell you guys some good news. So last week I got my first freelance editing gig in a very long time. And I completed it and got great feedback on it already. And the payment cleared, y'all. The payment cleared. So I think I might actually get some. Sorry, I live in New Jersey and there's always noise. But so yeah, I'm really excited about getting back into editing and tutoring now that I'm back in Jersey and people know and the word's gonna spread. And yeah, so I thought that was some good news to share. Um, it's always good when I get to do something that I know I'm good at and I get really good feedback on it. That felt super good. So I'm heading into the new week on a high, so to speak. Um, UFO Kamikaze, hey. Mr. Z said, before me and my lady even started being together, we spoke on the phone for 6 hours, and I'm the one that did most of the talking. Yeah, see, that's the thing. And like Dr. Dunbar says, it's important to know what not to do during the initial talking out process. Exactly. But like, I don't have a problem with talking on the phone. You can ask Rogish. He used to always comment on how much we would sit and talk on the phone before we actually met each other and, started dating or whatever. But I'm loquacious. I like to talk. However, everything in moderation, right? Like, we are adults. You had a life prior to meeting me. I had a life prior to meeting you. So those responsibilities and obligations are still there. Just because I like talking to you doesn't mean that I get to ignore those and just talk to you. And so that's kind of where I was coming from on it too. Ain't nobody say nothing about being rich, okay? Freelance work does not pay big. But it feels good to get compensated for something that I can do without being under the umbrella of a corporation. That's why I like tutoring. That's why I like, freelance editing, writing, all of that. I like doing all of that kind of stuff because I can do it from my own level of journalistic integrity and know that I'm providing something that somebody may have had trouble obtaining, especially in our community. A lot of people want to write things and don't know the right words to say and just need help, putting it together and making it sound good. So yeah. um Come on up 95, Mr. Z. I'll meet you halfway. Honestly, I really will. That Mr. Z is my YouTube brother for life. I don't have any other YouTube siblings. Um Nema is my step brother. Okay? But Mr. Z, we're blood related. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, look, I've spoke Rogish up. I don't know if you heard what I just said about how when we first started talking, we used to talk on the phone a lot. But yeah, that's what I was just talking about, Rogish. Like, he'll tell you, he used to call it phone sitting. When I was coming up, we called it phone boning, but he called it phone sitting. But yeah, I be having a lot to say. I can go on and on and on. But if I don't like you, I be quiet. That's how you know I don't like somebody. If I'm quiet, it's probably because I don't like that person. Yeah. Who is Zaza Ali? I don't know who that is. Now you're going to make me look that person up. I hope it's a woman because I don't think I sound like a man. Sick Diggy, my evening is going fine. I was just coming on here to talk about um, how this guy I gave my phone number to has given me major anxiety because he has called me back to back a few times already today after I told him I would call him. So, yeah. Dr. Dunbar said, my mother is proofing part 1 of my book and I just sent her some dough. If you're still in business when I publish part 2, I'll keep you in mind, Toya. Proofreading is critical. It's true. It's true. It's very true. And that's the thing about even me as a writer. I still need someone else to edit whatever I write or proofread because you won't catch your own mistakes a lot of times, right? You're reading it back to yourself. You know what you sound like, you know what you mean, but someone who doesn't will be able to spot something that you perhaps don't. And so for that reason, this is where I come in. And I'm good about asking questions to, for clarity to make sure that we don't change the voice of whatever it is that you're writing. That's important to me. Like, integrity is very important. I never want to come in and help someone edit or proofread and then it starts sounding like something I wrote. I want it to always to have your voice and to just help not embellish but amplify and accentuate it, if you know what I mean. Make it more impactful, make it sound more complimentary, or whatever it is that you're going for. This piece that I did was in reference to an ongoing lawsuit in the state of New Jersey. So that's all I can say. Link said, you do kind of have a similar voice. Wow, I just realized that. Okay. All right. She's already found things that me and Grammarly missed. Yeah, I do not like Grammarly. I think Grammarly is a nuisance more than it is an aid. It appears as a nuisance to me. Like, I feel like Grammarly means well but doesn't execute. It's just a nuisance because a lot of times the language that I'm using is something that I'm very familiar with and probably deliberate about, but Grammarly be like, what's this? Make it more concise. And it's like, no, the reader's gonna get this. Not yet. Oh, you and Mr. Z are talking roguish. I see that. Demetrius Higashikata. Demetrius Higashikata. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Z, doing good work on YouTube. But yeah, now that I've gotten that out, and it is a little chilly out here, even though I'm wearing a jacket, I'm gonna go back in the house and wind down for the evening so I can get ready to get up bright and early in the morning. Um, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and I'll see y'all in these YouTube streets, of course. And like I always like to say, peace, ease, and whatever you please. Good night. Good night, y'all.